I am Liu Kang, god of fire, protector of Earthrealm, and titan of time. When I defeated Kronika, she erased all of history. In its absence, I was given the burden of creation. To forge a timeline from nothing is to learn the true weight of eternity. In the void, I discovered Garrus, Kronika's sentinel. Though his master was gone, his purpose endured. He would guard the hourglass and the fate of all timelines. Yet the past is never truly defeated. My battle with Shang Tsung tore time itself apart, birthing countless timelines, each with its own titan. Shang Tsung sought dominion over them all. He was not alone. Tyrants rose, time bled, and the hourglass weakened. At the nexus of timelines, the truth became undeniable. The sands of time were spread too thin. There could be only one solution, one timeline. We would not fight as gods. Our power had already fractured eternity. Instead, we would return to what Mortal Kombat was always meant to be. Champions would fight in our stead. With each defeat, a timeline would return its sands to the hourglass, until only one remained. When our sands are returned, we titans will fade. Such is the price of peace. Let us pray that the final timeline is one worth saving. At the nexus of timelines, the Titans gathered with their champions. Garrus observed from his throne, unmoving, as time prepared to repeat itself. When the call for the first battle was made, Scorpion and Sub-Zero naturally stepped forward. Across countless timelines, their rivalry had echoed louder than any other, matched only by the respect forged through war and uneasy peace. This battle would not be theirs to fight. Scorpion named Takeda Takahashi, blind, disciplined, and bound to the Shirai Ryu of his timeline. With Sento in hand, he was no less deadly, guided by instinct and ancestral will. Sub-Zero chose Bihan, not the tyrant history remembered, but the leader he had carefully shaped, an honorable grand master of the Lin Kuei, forged through restraint rather than cruelty. Garrus sent the champions to a timeline untouched by either man's memory. Old fury surfaced. Scorpion questioned the wisdom of Sub-Zero's choice. Though tempered by reason, the truth soon followed. In Scorpion's timeline, it was a Bihan who had taken Takeda's sight. The champions emerged in a jungle untouched by either timeline. No gods watched, no crowds bore witness. Bihan fought with honor. Takeda fought with rage. They began as equals, until Takeda's vengeance drove him ahead. Though blind, Takeda saw Bihan clearly, the last face he had ever known. Sub-Zero yielded ground, choosing restraint over desperation. For a moment, Takeda faltered. Then his fury reclaimed control. Believing victory assured, Takeda lingered before the killing blow. But hatred clouded his judgment more than blindness ever could. Bihan endured. With his final strength, he claimed victory without claiming a life. Takeda was returned to his timeline. Burdened by failure and its consequences, he was granted time. He spent his final moments not as a warrior, but as a loving husband and father. At the Nexus, Scorpion was drawn into the hourglass, and with him, his timeline. Embracing his fate, he embraced Sub-Zero. They had begun as rivals. They would end as brothers. When Scorpion was gone, the weight of the tournament settled on those who remained. There was no time to mourn. Fujin arrived broken, bearing grim news. The Lin Kuei had stolen Shinnok's amulet. Kung Lao had died trying to stop them. Raiden called for vengeance. Titan Liu Kang denied it. If the tournament failed, no timeline would survive. including their own. The Nexus bore witness as the tournament of timelines reached its midpoint. Half of all realities had already been merged and erased. Titan Liu Kang watched as entire universes vanished, along with titans who once stood beside him. Each victory preserved one future at the cost of countless others. Though this fate was chosen, doubt crept into Liu Kang's mind. The tournament, once meant to prevent catastrophe, now demanded sacrifice on a scale even a god could scarcely endure. Then came troubling news. Sub-Zero, wielding Shinnok's amulet, had annihilated the Shirai Ryu. Only one survivor remained, Hanzo Hasashi. Liu Kang realized events were repeating themselves, echoes of timelines long destroyed bleeding into those that remained. The more realities were erased, the stronger these distortions became. As the tournament pressed on, Liu Kang saw a terrifying truth. Among the remaining titans stood one who had authored these horrors in their own timeline. If that titan emerged victorious, their universe would become the final one, forged from the ashes of every other, and Liu Kang would be powerless to stop it. In the nexus of timelines, Gira stood watch as history unraveled. Through the great portal, the events of Liu Kang's timeline played out. Raiden, Liu Kang's chosen champion, had just emerged victorious in the latest battle of the Tournament of Timelines. As the echoes of combat faded, Titan Liu Kang knelt beside him, channeling divine fire to heal wounds earned in the name of balance. But even in victory, the fire god's expression was heavy. Geras pulled Liu Kang away from the portal and delivered grim news. Only 4 timelines remained. Yet despite their careful design, events were spiraling into cruelty and war. History was repeating itself, exactly as it had in the fallen timeline Liu Kang once escaped. These were not outcomes any of the remaining titans would have chosen. Returning the sands to the Hourglass was meant to restore balance, but instead it grew more unstable with each grain. Geras offered a chilling possibility. When the final sands were returned, the last keeper of time might be forced to begin again, forging an entirely new timeline with the Hourglass' full power. Liu Kang rejected the thought, but could not deny the truth behind it. When Geras asked if Raiden should be told of the devastation unfolding in his home timeline, Liu Kang refused. Raiden had already been consumed by vengeance once. Knowledge of further loss would have torn him from the tournament, and perhaps shattered what remained of hope. In that moment, Liu Kang finally understood why his own mentor once kept painful truths from him. He confessed his doubts, that the path they had chosen to mend the Hourglass might have been a mistake. Despite nearly all timelines being erased, reality was not healing. It was deteriorating. Raiden saw the truth immediately. He warned Liu Kang of desperation, the same desperation that once drove himself to fracture time in an attempt to save it. Kronika, too, had endlessly reset the timeline in pursuit of perfection, and doomed existence each time. Perhaps the Titan of Time was never meant to rule the flow of history, only to create it, and then let it live or die on its own. In the silent expanse of the Nexus, the war of timelines reached its cruel equilibrium. The champions of Titans Kung Lao and Raiden were defeated. With Gearus's guidance, the two fallen titans returned their fractured realities to the Hourglass, restoring what balance they could before surrendering themselves to fate. Before the Hourglass, Titan Liu Kang stood unable to speak. Where once he had offered eloquent farewells, grief now closed his throat. As Kung Lao and Raiden began to dissolve into grains of time, Raiden placed a steady hand upon Liu Kang's shoulder, reminding him that no essence is ever truly lost, only transformed. Kung Lao followed, calling him brother until the last grains of their existence slipped into eternity. Liu Kang endured the moment in silence, saved only by Kitana's touch. She understood the weight he carried, for the titans he had lost, and for the future that demanded even greater sacrifice. With only 2 timelines remaining, Gearus decreed that the final combat would be fought in the Nexus itself, a neutral ground beyond history. He granted the Titans a fleeting mercy: time. Liu Kang and Kitana took that time together. Leaving the Nexus behind, they drifted through the endless cosmos, unbound by realms or timelines. For once, there was no war to command, no destiny to rewrite, only the truth they had always known. Though fate had forever conspired to keep them apart, their bond endured across eras, stars, and infinity itself. And as they embraced among the heavens, Liu Kang understood a final, painful truth. No matter which timeline survived the final combat, love, like time, could never truly be erased. When Titans Liu Kang and Kitana return to the Nexus of Timelines, their champions stand ready beside Gearus to finish the Tournament of Timelines. Yet they arrive with one final request. They wish for the final battle to be determined by skill alone. No fire, no lightning, no divine gifts. This would be a true Mortal Kombat. Proud of their champion's resolve, the Titans honor their request. They reclaim the powers they had bestowed, and Raiden and Liu Kang stand not as chosen avatars of gods, but as warriors alone. The champions take their places, awaiting Gearus' command.
Fight!
Liu Kang's lifelong training grants him speed and precision beyond measure. Raiden endures blow after blow, his body breaking where lightning once carried him through. Each strike tests his resolve. Each fall demands he rise again without the strength he once commanded. As Titan Liu Kang watches, memories stir, timelines undone by clashes between himself and his mentor. He wonders if history is repeating itself. When Liu Kang and Raiden battle, does it always end in doom? Bruised, broken, and gasping for breath, Champion Raiden refuses to yield. Champion Liu Kang respects his opponent's fortitude, but he does not relent. When Liu Kang presses forward for the finishing blow, Raiden answers, not with power but with timing, a sidestep, a counter, a crack in the knee. The tide turns. Raiden fights with renewed fury, answering every strike with one of his own. The arena trembles as the two warriors trade blow for blow, neither able nor willing to retreat. Exhausted and wounded, they abandon defense entirely. Kick meets kick, fist meets fist. Then, simultaneously, they unleash final roundhouse strikes. Both warriors fall, the Titans freeze. Time itself seems to hold its breath as Raiden and Liu Kang drag themselves back to their feet, barely standing, barely breathing, bruised, broken, defiant. Raiden reaches deep within himself, beyond strength, beyond destiny. He runs. Liu Kang raises his hand to strike, but he is too slow. Raiden's final blow strikes true, hurling Liu Kang to the floor. The champion of Kitana's timeline tries to rise, then collapses, coughing blood as his body gives out. Gearus' voice echoes through the Nexus.
Raiden wins!
Before the Hourglass, Liu Kang stood hand in hand with Kitana as the sands of time whispered their final verdict. Behind them, Raiden and Gearus bowed their heads, bearing witness to a sacrifice no god should ever be forced to make. With tears held back by sheer will, Kitana reminded Liu Kang that greatness had always been his burden to bear. She had shaped a universe across eons, a task no mortal was meant to endure. But if any soul could guide time itself, it was his. In her final moments, she found peace not in power, but in love. As the sands claimed her form, Kitana's essence merged with the Hourglass. Her final words echoed through eternity. She would always be with him. The merger ended. The Nexus fell silent. But the Hourglass did not stabilize. Instead, it raged. Liu Kang, Gearus, and Raiden stood in confusion. Had all the sacrifice been for nothing? Amid the chaos, Liu Kang heard the Hourglass call to him. He understood then. There was one final sacrifice yet to be made. He entered the Hourglass itself, braving the storm of countless timelines collapsing into one. As this unfolded, the Kourt of Khaos prepared their final assault. Ermac siphoned the souls of their collective into Shinnok's amulet, his body collapsing into a lifeless husk once the ritual was complete. With the soul-charged amulet, Shinnok tore open a portal to the Nexus of Timelines. As the court stepped into a plane reserved for gods, Raiden and Gearus moved to stop them, but they were outnumbered. The court bound their captives, preparing to execute them and draw out the fire god. It worked. Liu Kang emerged from the Hourglass consumed by fire god fury. Shang Tsung was incinerated on sight. One by one the court fell. Shinnok alone remained. Wielding his amulet, the fallen elder god brought Liu Kang to his knees, unleashing his vengeance with every blast. Yet even restored power proved futile. With the snap of his fingers, Liu Kang reduced Shinnok to sand, returning him to the Hourglass from which he had once been bound. When the battle ended, Liu Kang revealed what he had learned within the Hourglass. To save time itself, the Hourglass must be destroyed. Within the Hourglass, fire god Liu Kang peered through a storm of timelines and saw a lone figure standing in the eye of the raging sands. Though it bore the shape of Gearus, its presence felt ancient, older than titans, older than gods. The being revealed a long-buried truth. Gearus's body was only a vessel, crafted so that time itself could take form. Time was not a construct, nor a tool of fate. It was a living force of reality, meant to flow freely, endlessly, and without direction imposed upon it. Long ago, time broke its own nature. It fell in love with an elder god, Kronika. To walk beside her, time took physical form, surrendering its boundless flow for a single existence. But love soon gave way to fear. When Kronika sought to alter events for the sake of their children, time refused. To change the past for personal desire would corrupt its essence and unravel all existence. Betrayed by the one it loved, time was torn from its body. Kronika imprisoned its essence within the Hourglass and claimed its power as her own. In that moment, she crowned herself a Titan and condemned reality to an endless cycle of manipulation and rebirth. The instability of the Hourglass, the fracture of timelines, and the rise of countless realities were not acts of chaos. They were time struggling to heal itself. With every new timeline created, its prison weakened. Liu Kang understood the truth at last. He was never meant to rule time. He was meant to set it free. Knowing that surrendering his own timeline was the final price, Liu Kang chose balance over dominion. Before the end, he granted Raiden a final mercy, returning him to a life untouched by gods, war, and destiny. As the sands merged, Liu Kang felt himself fade. He shared a final moment with Geras, not as master and servant, but as friends. The hourglass exploded in radiant light, and time reclaimed its form, whole once more. With no will to impose, no hand to guide, the universe was reborn, unchained from ambition, unshaped by design. Time flowed freely again, as it was always meant to.